I am your teacher of maths, Graniga Passing. Last episode, we looked at quadratics, expression, and we learned a few things about quadratics. I'll take a few minutes to review what we learned so that we are able to go ahead and do more on quadratics. We said a quadratic expression. The general form of quadratic expression is ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, we said that our a is the coefficient of x squared. That means that is the number which is multiplying x squared. We also said b is the coefficient of x, and c is a constant. We also said that in a quadratic expression, the highest power of the variable is always 2. It cannot be more than 2. If it's more than 2, it becomes cubic. If it's 1, it becomes linear, and so on. Now, we also said that our b, a, and c can all be negative or positive. Or positive. A can never be 0. The number which is multiplying x squared can never be 0. So a can never be 0. Otherwise, the quadratic factor will disappear. But b and c can be 0. We looked at some examples. And then we also said that in order for us to factorize quadratic expressions, there are a few things we need to do. First of all, we looked at the quadratic identities. We have x plus a squared. When we expand this, we get x squared plus 2ax plus a squared. And we also had x minus a squared becomes x squared minus 2ax plus a squared. We said these two quadratic identities are complete squares. We'll require this when we come to our next export, when we are going to look at completing squares. Then the other identity was a squared minus b squared. When we expand, becomes a squared. It becomes a minus b multiplied by a plus b. And we say this identity is difference of two squares. These are very important. Now, we also said that if our a is 1, we are going to get an expression like x squared plus bx plus c. Now, if we want to factorize, we said c will be our product and b will be our sum, which means that we are going to have two factors of this quadratic expression where their product will be equals to c and their sum will be b. And we can expand or factorize in this form. We shall have x plus p multiplied by x plus q. Now, we know that these factors can be either positive or negative. So I'll write the general formula, which will be x plus or minus p multiplied by x plus or minus q. So when our a is 1, we just need to look at the factors of c, which will add up to b. And then we also said that in order for us to be able to get those factors, it is better for us to find our determinant. And our determinant is b squared minus 4ac. Now, when we have our b squared minus 4ac, we look at what will be the value of b squared minus 4ac. If we find b squared minus 4ac is equals to 0, then we are going to have one factor which is repeating, because the maximum number of answers we can get for a quadratic expression is 2. So in this case, we get one factor which is repeating, and that gives us the two identities which are perfect squares. Now, if our b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, we are going to get two factors. Either the two factors will be both positive, or the two factors will be both negative, or one will be positive and the other one will be negative. And we have ways of knowing which of these factors will be numerically bigger than the other. And finally, if our b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, it means we shall have no real factors. And that means when we come to graphical method, I'll show you why we don't have real factors. So generally, these are the things which we learned the other time, and with a few examples. So today, we are going to look at more ways of factorizing, and then later on, at a later stage, we shall introduce how do we solve quadratic equations by factorizing. So now, when I have ax squared plus bx plus c, this is, when equated to 0, becomes a quadratic equation. But when it's written ax squared plus bx plus c, it is a quadratic expression. So let's look at a few examples where we are going to factorize. Now, we are going to look at all the other components, whether it's a perfect square, whether it is a difference of two squares, when our b is positive and c is negative, the same review of what we did in our lesson 1. Now, I have some sample questions here, and we are going to have number 7 as our first example to factorize. Number 7 says 2x squared plus 3x minus 9 is to be factorized. 2x squared plus 3x minus 9 has to be factorized. So 2x squared plus 3x minus 9. Let us identify our a, b, and c. Our a is 2, b is 3, and c is negative 9. So our AC is going to be equals to 2 times negative 9, which is negative 18. Now, we need to know whether we are going to have two factors or not. So we need to find our b squared minus 4ac. Now, my b squared will be 9 minus 4 times 2 times negative 9. This is 8 times negative 9 is negative 72. Negative 72, and when it is negative minus negative becomes positive. So we are going to get our 81, which is greater than 0. So it means that we are going to have two factors. Now we need to look at the signs of B and C. When B is positive and C is negative, we said we are going to have two factors. One will be positive, one will be negative. But because B is positive, the positive factor will be numerically bigger than the negative factor. So the positive factor will be numerically greater than the negative one. So let's quickly go to factors of negative 18. Now, we need two numbers. When I add them, will give me 3, and when I multiply, will give me negative 18. Of course, we can have negative 18 and 1, because 1 will be positive, 1 will be negative, and then we can have 18, negative 1, 3, negative 6, 6, negative 3, 9, negative 2, and negative 9, 2. If you look at these factors, the factors which will fall in our category will be this one here. Positive 6 minus 3 will give us positive 3. So we are going to write our 3x in terms of positive 6 and negative 3, which will be 6x minus 3x. So our equation becomes 2x squared plus 6x minus 3x minus 9. Now I can group them. So what I will have here is my 2x will be a common factor here. So I will be left with x plus 3. And then minus 3 will be a factor here again, x plus 3. So I'll have 2x minus 3 and x plus 3. I'll have factorized. So these are the simple steps you need to do. And once you have these steps you are taking, it will be quite easy for you to factorize quadratic expressions. Now, let's go to the next part, which will be our number 13. Number 13 says 6x squared plus 17x plus 12. Now, we are going to look at the fact that 6x squared plus 17x plus 12. Now, I will not go to the details, but what I can see here is that my A is 6, B is 17, and C is 12. And my AC will be 6 times 12, which is 72. Now, definitely I can see here my my B is positive and my C is positive, which means that the two factors I have will both be positive. Two factors will both be positive. I don't have to test for the what? The B squared minus 4AC, but we can test it. Our B squared minus 4AC is going to be equals to 17 squared minus 6 times 4 times 12, which will be 489 minus 289, I'm sorry. $289 minus 288. You can use your calculator to get that 1, which is greater than 0. So what we have here is we just have to look now our AC 72, and we get the factors of 72, which will add up to 17. Now, I know you can go through the processes, but because of time, we are going to have only 8 and 9. Because 8 times 9 will give you 72, and 8 plus 9 will give you 17. So our 17x will now be written as 8x plus 9x. So we're going to have 6x squared plus 9x plus 8x plus 12. Then we group. So what we are going to have here is, what is common here will be 3x, 2x plus 3, plus what is common here is 4, 2x plus 3. So we quickly have 3x plus 4 multiplied by 2x plus 3. And you'll have finished factorizing. Now, I need to bring in something which is more testing. Now, let's look at number 21. Number 21 says 3x squared minus 17xy plus 20y squared. These letters of x and y should not give you a problem because we are going to use the same process. So let's look at how we are going to do that. So the question is 3x squared minus 17xy plus 20y squared. So the same thing, our A is 3, B is minus 17y, and C is 20y squared. So we're going to go quickly and say my AC equals to 60y squared. We quickly need to get factors of 60y squared. Now you can see that our B is negative and C is positive. That means the two factors you are going to have will both be negative because negative times negative will give us positive. And quickly here, when we have negative 17, we need two numbers, which will multiply, will give us 60. And that will be negative 5 and negative 12. Because negative 12 and negative 5 will give me 60, which is positive. But we need to have the y factor. So we'll have negative 5y and negative 12y. So we are going to write negative 17xy in terms of negative 5yx minus 12yx. So let's have this 3x squared minus 12xy minus 5yx plus 20y squared. Then we group. So what we are going to have here is, of course, our 3x is common. So I'm going to have x minus 4y. And then here, minus 5 is common. And then here we'll have y minus, x minus 4y. So our factors will be 3x minus 5 multiplied by x minus 4y. So this y here should not complicate, just the same process. You just have to identify your A, your B, get your B squared minus 4AC to find out which factors are there. Will one be positive, negative, or will they both be negative or both be positive? Like in our case here, our two factors are both negative. Now, let's have one more before we go to solving of quadratic equations using factorization. The last one is 9x squared minus 3x minus 20. On their sheet, that will be number 14. Now, in this case, quickly, let's say our C is negative 20, A is 9, B is negative 3. My AC will be negative 180. All right? Now, when I test this, my B squared minus 4AC will definitely be greater than 0. Because when you have a negative, times a negative becomes positive and you add. Now, what are our factors of negative 180, which will add up to negative 3? You can go through the whole process. And I found out that it will be, just a minute, negative 15 and positive 12. So we just write our negative 3x in terms of minus 15x plus 12x. So we have 9x squared minus 15x plus 12x minus 20. Now, you could have written it the other way. You could write 9x squared plus 12x minus 15x minus 20. Then you group, you'll get the same things. So our common factor here is 3x. We are left with 3x plus 4 minus, common factor is negative 5, 3x plus 4. And then you're going to have 3x minus 5, and then 3x plus 4. Now, I believe that you have had enough examples of how to factorize quadratic expressions. Now, let's go on to solve some quadratic equations by factorizing. So, our first number is what normally gives challenges. You have 2x squared minus 98 equals to 0. Now, the easiest way, of course, for people to do is they will say, let 2x squared equals to 98. And then my x squared equals to 98 over 2, which will be 49. So my x takes square root on both sides is equals to the square root of 49. So x is going to be equals to plus or minus 7. In this particular case, this one is okay. But we could have done it the other way. We could have done it differently. Remember, when we factorize this, I told you this is a hidden a difference of two squares. If I put 2 outside, I'm going to have x squared minus 49 equals to 0. So I'll have 2 in brackets, x plus 7 and x minus 7 equals to 0. Now, of course, when I divide by 2, I'll get 0, so I'll be left with x plus 7 and then x minus 7. Now, when I multiply 2 or more numbers and the answer is 0, it means either one of them is 0 or the other one is 0 or both of them are 0. So what I'll do is I'll equate x plus 7 equals to 0. Take this one there. X will be negative 7. And then x minus 7 equals to 0. Take this one there. X equals to 7. So my answers are x equals to 7 and x equals to negative 7. Now, why did I bring this? There are cases where students are told to solve. An equation like this. 8x squared minus 6x equals to 0. And they said, okay, let me take 6x to the other side. So I'm going to have 8x squared equals to 6x. So if I divide by x, I'll get 8x equals to 6. Then divide by 8, my x equals to 6 over 8, which is the same as 3 over 4. This is partially correct, but you have missed something. Because if you had factorized, you'll say 8x squared minus 6x equals to 0. Now, 2 is a common factor. I'm going to have 4. Actually, 2x is a common factor. 4x minus 3 equals to 0. So we can say either 2x equals to 0, therefore x equals to 0, or 4x minus 3 equals to 0. In that case, x equals to 3 over 4. You see, you missed this answer where x equals to 0. So please, when you get a quadratic expression like that, always factorize before you solve it. Now, let's have another example, which is 5x squared minus 37x minus 24 equals to 0. Let's do our normal things. We have our A, 5, B equals to minus 37, and C equals to minus 24. Now I need my AC. AC is going to be equals to 5 times negative 24, which will be negative 120. So let's quickly get factors of negative 120, which will add up to negative 37. Sometimes it becomes challenging, but with a lot of practice, you should be able to get these factors. That's why you are taught how to find the LCM, all right, and GCD. So what we need to do here is we have identified our A, B, and C. We have got our AC. Now, sometimes when you practice, it becomes so easy because you need two numbers. When you multiply, will give you negative 120, and when you add, will give you negative 37. 3 and 40 should come to your mind. And 40 will be numerically bigger than 3, so 40 will be we have negative 40 and positive 3. So our negative 37x can be written as negative 40x plus 3x. So our 5x squared minus 40x plus 3x minus 24 equals to 0. Let's group them together. Here our common factor is 5x. So you have x minus 8. Our common factor here is plus 3. And then x minus 8 equals to 0. So we have 5x plus 3 multiplied by x minus 8 equals to 0. And when two numbers are multiplied and the answer is 0, either one of them is 0, or the other one is 0, or both of them are 0. So we are going to equate 5x plus 3 equals to 0. Take the 3 to the other side. 5x equals to negative 3. And x, we divide both sides by 5. Divided by 5. X is going to be equals to negative 3 over 5. Or you can write as negative 0.6. Now, then we have to go to the second one, which says x minus 8 equals to 0. Just take 8 to the other side. Our x equals to 8. When you take the negative 8 to the other side, it becomes positive. So those are quite simple steps on how to solve quadratic equations by factorizing. Now, let's have one last example. 15x squared minus 22x plus 8 equals to 0. Our A is 15, B equals to negative 22, and C equals to 8. Our AC is going to be equals to 120. 8 times 15. Right? So now, our A is positive, B is negative, and C is positive, which means my two factors will both be negative, because negative times a negative will give us positive. So we need to get two factors of 120. When we add, should give us negative 22, and when we multiply, should give us positive 120. And quickly, you'll find that the factors are negative 12 negative 12, and negative 10. So by practice, you'll be able to find these factors quite quickly. So let's have our negative 22x equals to negative 10x minus 12x. So we shall have 15x squared minus 10x minus 12x plus 8 equals to 0. We group this together. Our common factor here will be 5x. Here we shall be left with 3x minus 2. Here our common factor will be 4, and then 3x minus 2. So we have 5x minus 4, and then 3x minus 2 equals to 0. So our 5x minus 4 equals to 0. Take this one there. 5x equals to 4 after taking this one there. So our x equals to 4 over 5, which is the same as 0.8. Then the next one is easy. We have 3x minus 2 equals to 0. So 3x equals to 2. And then divide by 3, x equals to 2 over 3. So these are the different ways in which you can, first of all, factorize quadratic expressions. You can then use the factorized form to solve your quadratic equations. So in our lesson today, we have revisited how to factorize quadratic expressions and later on use it to solve our quadratic equations when we have our factors already made. The most important thing you must remember is make sure that you get your factors or the coefficients A, B, and C. Get your AC, look for the factors because your AC general will be your product and your B will be your factor. And then you get the the sum. When you get your factors, they should add up to B, and the product should be AC. And you find that factorizing quadratic expressions and also solving quadratic equations using factorization becomes very easy. I am your teacher of maths, Graniga Pasi. Thank you for attending my lesson. We meet in the next episode where we are going to look at completing squares. Thank you very much. You're welcome.